Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is YAHMAD. Today we're going to be looking at paper 3 from the Information and Communication Technology ICT IGCSE course code 04117. So paper 3 is a practical paper which is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. We're going to be now focusing on the website section, and for the website section previously I've used Adobe Dreamweaver, but from now on, due to changing schools and not having the software, we're going to be using Microsoft Web Expression 4. So we're going to be using this software to complete the website section. So let's go down. I've already started this paper. I've completed the actual spreadsheet section. So the evidence document is complete. Oh, I've started it actually, should I say. Let's open it up. So I've already completed sections for the spreadsheet part, but I'm going to be now doing a website part of this paper. Right, so let's have a look at the first question. Okay, so task 2. You work for Hot House Design and will develop web pages for a small construction company called Bobby's Bricks. Okay, so it's the same theme as the spreadsheet section basically. So efficient markup and style sheets must be used. All color codes must be in hexadecimal. So the first thing we need to do is create a new folder called bb_html. So I'm going to copy this, go to my source folder. This is where all the files are. If I right click and click on new, and then I will select folder, and then I can copy and paste the name in. So basically we're going to have to move some of these files here into this particular folder. So let's have a look what files are they asking for. Okay, so bb contact htm. Let's do that one first. So this one here is basically the HTML document. Just drag it in. The bb map png and the 2 text files. So bb map png and then the 2 text files, so bb text 1 and bb text 2. Let's move them 3 in. Okay, then we can move the logo and a style sheet, so bb logo and bb style. So these two basically. If you want, you can do them all in one go. I'm just making sure I'm not making any mistakes. The blocks, the brickwork, and paving JPEGs. So we've got 3 JPEGs pictures. So this one here, and I'm just pressing Control on the keyboard to select multiple files. Okay, so now if I just change this to details, we should have all the files that they're asked for. So bb contact, the PNG, and the 2 text files. So yeah, I've got the HTML, I've got the JPEG. Oh, where's the PNG file? Yeah, that's the PNG, that's the 2 text files. Yep, I'm pretty confident I've got all of the files. You can check if you want to. So now let's move on to the first question. So we're going to create a web page called bb.htm. So this page doesn't exist, so we only have this contact page, so we have to create a new page. So when you open up Microsoft Web Expression, you can go to File, New, and we want to create a new HTML page. Okay, so let's just get rid of this one here. So, and before I do anything, I'm going to save this page. So save as. Go to Documents, and let me double check. I didn't actually say which paper we're doing. We're doing Summer 31. Okay, so just double checking the paper. So let me save it into this file here, source files, bb_html, and we need to save it as, if I go back down again, we can have a quick look, bb.htm. So if I just type in bb, by default it will save it as a HTML file. Okay, so save as type. Yep, I want to save it as I can just select HTML if you want as well. Save. Okay, so the next thing we have to create is the table structure shown below. So before we create the table, we need to identify 2 things. How many columns is the table going to have? So we've got 1 column, 2 columns, and 3 columns. So you might see 2 columns at the bottom, but we have to go over the maximum number. So we've got 1, 2, 3 columns. Okay, and then how many rows we have? So we've got 1 row, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 3 columns and 4 rows. Okay. Then the next thing we need to identify is the size of the table going across. So we can see here 1200 will be the width of the table going across from this point to this point here. Okay, so to create the table, you first need to click on table and then insert table. So we can type in 4 rows, 3 columns, okay, and the size going across of the table in pixels was 1200. So it's really important you select pixels. We don't want to select in percent, then it's going to make your table too big. So in pixels, the table size is 1200. If I go back to the question paper, we're also going to have dimensions for each cells, but we'll come to that later on after we've created the table. So eventually we are going to be putting the sizes in for each of the cells, but let's first create the table. You'll notice here we are going to have an external border and also internal grid lines. So as a default, what we can do is set the border to 1. This will obviously change later when you create your CSS. So before I press OK, I want to double check. I've got 4 for the number of rows, 3 for the number of columns, and the size going across is 1200 in pixels. Okay, we also have other settings like padding, collapsing the table. These can be done in CSS as well later on. So let's press OK. So I've got my table going across. To help me out, I'm just going to decrease the size of these menus so it's just easier for me to see what I'm doing. You can also get rid of these menus if you want. So here's my table. As you can see, we've got the first row, second, third and fourth row, and then we've got 1 column, 2 columns and 3 columns. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is merge the second row into 1 row, okay, or into 1 cell, and then merge the third row into 1 cell as well. So to merge the cells together, you just have to highlight first of all that particular row, right click your mouse, go to modify and select merge cells. So that's the second row now merged into 1 cell, and we have to do the same thing for the third row. So highlight the row, modify, merge the cells. Okay, so we've got 1 cell here for the second row or 1 cell here for the third row. Just before putting the sizes for each of the cells, you'll notice on the bottom row, the fourth row, we only have 2 columns. The top row, we've got 3 columns. So what we need to do is basically merge 2 of these cells together, which will give us 1 cell on this side and then 1 cell on this side here. So again, highlight the cells, modify, and then click on merge cells. So we've got 1 cell here and 1 cell here. So before I start putting in the dimensions for the table, you will notice the table will not look exactly like this, but obviously what we need to ensure is we put in the right dimensions so that it shows up in the code. So when I go to the code, we're expecting to see the right dimensions of the table here. Okay, so let's go back to design view. So the first row we're going to edit is the first row. We've got 3 cells, 1, 2 and 3. So if I right click and click on cell properties, so the size for each of the cells in the top row is 400 by 300. So we need to tick these 2 boxes here. In pixels, we need to type in 400 and then the height will be 300 for the cells. Okay, then we can click on apply. Okay, so don't panic if it's looking too big at this moment in time, it's fine. If we go to the code, you can see we've got the right dimensions in, so 400 by 300. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what's going to get marked. Okay, the second row, we only need to concern ourselves with the height, okay, because it's going to be the same size going across anyway, even for the third row. So the second row will be 250, and the third row, the height will be 150. So if I click in the second row, again, right click, cell properties, the height will be 250 in pixels. So let me double check. Yeah. Let's click on apply. Let's go now down to the third row. Modify or right click, click on cell properties. This time the height of the third row will be 150. So we can type that in, apply, okay. And then eventually we need to modify the sizes of the two cells in the fourth row. So both of these cells will be 600 by 300. So if we go back, so I've got my two cells, whoops, let me just go back down again. So we just want to select the two cells from the bottom row. Okay, again, right click, cell properties, and the size will be 600 by 300. So again, we can tick these two boxes here in pixels, make sure that's been selected for both, 600, and then we can click here by 300. Apply. Okay, so the table, you know, it might be looking quite big at this point, and you might say, look, the dimensions are not looking the same. But as mentioned previously, if you go to the code, as long as the right dimensions appear in the code, then we're good at this point. Okay, so as we can see, the second row, the height was 250. The third row, the height was 150. The final row, the height was, or it was basically, the width was 600 by 300. Okay, for both cells in that particular row. So let's just look at this code before we move forward. So TR stands for the table row. So we have to open the tag and close the tag with a slash, as you can see here. And TD refers to the cell. So in the first row we had 3 cells, so that's why we have 3 TDs. So we open with TD and then we close with a slash. So TD stands for table data. Okay, so each row has to be closed and each cell has to be closed with a slash. The second and third columns or rows only had 1 cell, so we only have 1 TD, as you can see. So that's the second row. That's the third row. And on the fourth row, we had 2 cells, so therefore we've got 2 TDs. Okay, so each tag has been closed with a slash, a backward slash. Even the TDs has been closed. Okay. So each cell is identified with a letter and all dimensions are in pixels. The letters and dimensions are shown in the table and must not appear on your final web page. So that was just for our benefit, so we can resize the cells. The external border must have a width of 4 pixels and all internal grid lines must have a width of 2 pixels. Table borders and grid lines must be visible. Okay, so this is 15 marks. So I think this is something that we'll do later on, probably in the CSS. Okay, so let's go now down to question 2. So question 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like we're going to be inserting some content into the table, as well as 6 and 7. Yep, so the next few questions we're going to be inserting some content, so it might be either pictures or text. So remember, this is cell A, B and C. So A, B and C are in the top row. So in cell A, we're going to place the image brickwork.jpg. Okay, I'm just going to copy this. So to insert an image, so cell A, let's go to the top of the table first of all. So we've got our 3 cells, so A, B and C. So to insert something to A, let's click on it first of all. You can either click on this icon here to insert a picture from file, or we can go to insert picture from file, same thing. And this is my folder. So the first picture we need to insert, let me double check again, is going to be the brickwork.jpg. So it's going to be this picture here. So we can select and then we can click on insert. And then it gives us this option here, so accessibility properties. So in previous past papers, they've asked you to include alternative text. So this is basically text. If the picture does not load up, this text will load up instead. So since the picture is of brickwork, I'm going to paste in brickwork. Obviously, you would have to type it in during the exam. So just to remind you, if the picture does not load up, then this text will be shown instead. So let's press OK. So that's the first picture in cell A. Okay, so we've done that. We can highlight. In cell B, which was the second cell in the top row, so this cell here, we're going to place the text. So place in cell B the text, click on an image for further details. So I'm going to copy and paste this, and then we have to set this text as style H2. So to select or to format this as style heading 2 or H2, we need to highlight the text first of all, and then if you come up to style window, click down, you need to select heading 2. Okay, so when you do later on, for example, attach a style sheet, this might change according to style sheet settings. Okay, so that's question 3 done. So let's highlight. Let's look at question 4. So place in cell C. So cell C is this cell here. Again, in the top row, the third cell. The image paving.jpg. So again, we can click inside this cell. We can either click here or go to this option here. So I'm going to use a shortcut instead. Okay, so if I click here, we want to select the paving picture. Again, I'm going to include alternative text. Sometimes in a question paper it asks later on, so let me just include it here. So if the picture does not load up, then this will be the alternative text. Just before press OK, it's going to say resize this image in the markup, so it's 394 pixels wide and maintains its aspect ratio. So that's a hint. So if I press OK, you can see the picture's massive. Obviously it's too big for the cell. So I already knew this because in the second line it says we are going to be resizing the picture, and we also want to maintain the aspect ratio. So if I click on the picture, and if I click on split to see part of the code, what we want to do is basically make it 394 pixels wide, and at the moment the size is 788. If I type in 394 in the markup, you're going to see we're going to have a slight problem. The picture has now been scratched and is not maintained the aspect ratio. That's not what we want to do. We want to maintain the aspect ratio. So if I press Ctrl Z to go back to the original settings, go back to design. If I right click on the picture and select picture properties, appearance. If you didn't include alternative text, you can always include it now as well. So appearance, what we want to say is we want the picture to be 394 pixels wide, okay, maintaining the aspect ratio. So if I change this to 394, the height will automatically change to maintain the proportions of the picture. Make sure this is ticked, and if I press OK, you can see the picture has maintained this aspect ratio. Okay, so we've now inserted 2 pictures and some text as well. I'm just going to double click on this table. Okay, it's fine. Right. Okay, so question 5. So in cell D, so which one is cell D? Cell D is the second row. Okay, what we're going to insert? We're going to insert the BB blog or BB logo.jpg picture. This is the logo of the company which appears on the company vehicles, letterheads, etc. Okay, so we're going to insert this picture. So BB logo.jpg. So let's go back. The second row, again, let's use the shortcut instead. So insert picture from file, and it's going to be this picture here. Let's click on insert. Let's include alternative text. So company logo. So if the picture does not load up, this will be shown instead. Okay, so Bobby's Bricks. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to make this image into a hyperlink to open the web page bbcontact.htm in a new browser window called _new. So to make this into a hyperlink, if I right click on the picture and select hyperlink, okay, and what do we want to open? Again, we want to open the bbcontact.html page. So this page here. Okay, so it's going to open in a current folder this particular web page, and what we want to do is for this page to open in a new browser window called _new. So to open a new browser window, we click on target frame, new window, and it's going to be called _new. I might as well just type it in, it's not much. So what this will do, will basically, once the picture has been clicked, we'll open this window, we'll open this page on a new window. Okay, if you do go to the code, let's go to split, for example. You can see here for this particular picture, okay, it's going to open up this page here, and the target will be on a new window. Okay, so let's go back to the design view. So that's that part done for question 5. Okay, so place in cell E. So which one is cell E? Cell E is the third column, as you can see. The text from the file bb text. Okay, so what we need to do is, if I go to that folder, bb text, is it 1? Yeah. So if I open up this text file, notepad file, we basically, here we go, there's some information there. We basically have to copy and paste text from this notepad file and place it into cell E, and then we have to set this text as style H1. So let me just, okay, I'm going to have to highlight the whole thing. So copy, if I go back to this column here, so we're in the third column. So in the first row we had some pictures and text, then the company logo. So in this third row I'm going to copy and paste the text. So you can either go to edit and paste, or you can use your shortcut keys, so Control and V, to paste in the text. And this text will have to be formatted as H1, so we highlight the text, and then again we go to the style window and we select heading 1 H1. Okay, so job done. So we've got 2 more cells to go. Place in cell F the text from the file bbtext2. So I can close this one now, don't need it. So F is going to be this one here, the first cell in the last row. So let me open up this and copy again, copy and paste. So place in cell F, let me just space, well I didn't highlight this previous one. So place in cell F the text from the file bbtext2, yeah, we've done that. Add your name, center number and candidate number at the end of this text. Okay, so I'll add my name, so Yasser Ahmed, comma, center number. What I'll do, I'll just put this onto a separate line. And I'll just put a space in like the example shown above. So Yasser Ahmed is my name, center number I'll use 5678, and then for candidate number I'll use 1234. Obviously these will be given to you in the exam. Set a text, we will undertake building projects in other regions of the world as style H2. Okay, so I want to highlight the first line here. We will undertake building projects in other regions of the world as heading 2. Okay, so we've done that. Set the text web page design and creation by Hothouse. Okay, web page last edited by, so that must be, yep, this next line here, that's H3. So again, let me highlight the text. Heading 3, and these might change later on, obviously once you attach your CSS style. So I'm just going to actually put this back to what it was. So this information now comes after the by. Okay. Make only the text hothouse design a hyperlink to the web page. Okay, let me first of all copy this web page. So make only the text hothouse design as a hyperlink. So what is hothouse design? It's this text here. So if I highlight the text, again, if I right click and select hyperlink, and I want to type in the web address. So I'm going to type in a web address there, or copy and paste. Obviously you would have to type it in. Make sure you include a full address, including http:// right, which should be set to open in the same browser window. Okay, so if you go to target frame, you can say same, so it can open up on itself. So it's not going to open up a new window, a new tab, it's going to open it up on itself. Okay, so we can include that. You can press OK. Again, if you do go to the code, you can see this is being linked. So this text is here has been linked to this web address. Okay, and it's going to open on itself. So let's just go back to code. Okay. Right. Question 8. Place in cell G the image of the map provided. So G would be the last column in the 4th row. So if I go to this column here, so if you go to insert, picture, or you can click here, let's just click here now. Let's click on the map. Let's include the alternative text and press OK. So we've got a map here in this picture. Okay, job done. So question 9, make sure appropriate text styles is displayed if the image is not available. So I've already done this because in recent exam papers they've been asking us to include alternative text. So rather than going back and doing it again, so if you go to picture properties, you'll see the alternative text has already been added. But if you did forget to include the alternative text, you can always go back, right click on a picture, picture properties, and include this text here. So remember, this text will appear if the picture does not load up. Okay, so for question 10, we have to centerline a table in the browser. Now there's two ways of doing this, but I want to bring your attention to the mark scheme. So in a mark scheme, they want to see this code. Okay, so style margin left auto and margin right auto. And I've seen this piece of code in previous mark schemes. So this is basically embedded CSS styles to make the margins automatic on the left and the right hand side. However, for some reason you can see here there's not been a mark given for this. However, in previous exam papers there has been marks given for this piece of code. So I'm going to show you two methods of centerlining the table. So it's up to you what you want to go with. So the first method would be if you right click on the table, select table properties, and then you can select center. If you click on apply, then OK. Then if you go to design, or go to the code, sorry, you can see we've got this text here, align center. And if you do go to the browser, so let's preview to see if this has worked. So if I go to Chrome, so it's loading up in a second. The table should be center aligned. Yep, as you can see. Okay. However, what we can also do is if I delete this instead, and actually if we go back to design, if I right click on the table, table properties, let's change it back to default, apply, OK, and then go back to the code, you'll notice that part has disappeared. So what we can also do is embed the CSS style. So within the speech marks, so we've already opened up a style. So if I type in margin left and select automatic and close with a semicolon, that's one tag, and then margin right, type in auto and close with speech mark. This is a typical piece of code that you'd have to enter sometimes. So I don't need to write style again because we already got style here and we're inside of the speech marks. So now if I go to the browser and preview again, it should do the exact same thing. So again, you can see the table has been center aligned. Okay, so in previous mark schemes, they have requested for this piece of code here, so margin left auto and margin right auto. So if you want to show that piece of code, then it's best if you write it in within the style. Okay, so let's go back to design view. So that's that question done. There's only one mark available as well, so if you can't remember to type in the code, then just right click on the table and select the center align tag instead. Okay, so now we're going to attach a style sheet, bbstyle.css, to your web page, which is, if I go back to this one, bb.html, and also to the bbcontact.html. So first of all, let me open up the other page. So let me open up the bb contact page. Okay, so we've got two pages, and we want to attach the style sheet, which will give the formatting to each of the pages. So bb style. Okay, it's a CSS which we need to attach. So if we click on insert, format, CSS styles, and we want to attach a style sheet. Click on browse, and you go to your folder, and it's a BB style. Let me double check. Yeah, that's the style sheet which we need to attach. So you may have to browse for the style sheet, and then you can press OK. And you can see there's some slight format in the background that's changed to like a beige color. And again, we can apply it to this one as well. So format, CSS styles, attach style sheet, browse, and click. Make sure link option has been selected. Press OK. So the text has slightly changed. So let's go back to here. Let's save all the pages. Okay, so now I've completed question 11. I've saved the web pages into my folder. So let me highlight this. Right, the next question will be focusing on the style sheet. So the style sheet has been started but needs to be improved using the most efficient syntax. Make sure your style sheet does not contain any HTML. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is to open up the style sheet BBS style in a suitable software package. So we're going to use the same software, so Web Expression. So we can go to File, Open, you go to your bb_html folder, you locate the style sheet, and you press Open. So the second part of the question is saying examine its contents, okay, and then eventually we have to edit the style sheet. So let's first of all examine the contents. So we've got two CSS tags. The first one is for the body, which is for the background. So the background color will be this particular color here. Okay, and then we have a style for H1. So the H1 will be set, the font will be set to Arial. Okay, what we need to do is edit the style sheet so the following specifications have been applied. So I'm going to zoom in slightly. So before we look at this, there's a couple of different ways which we can edit the style sheet. We can actually write the code out ourselves. So if I want to type in H2, and let's say for example, if I open the curly brackets, set a font family, and then we can just start writing, selecting these options here. You close with a semicolon, bracket like that. Actually no, not the bracket. So that's what you can do. Or if you open up this window on the right hand side, we can use the Manage Styles window to edit our CSS. So for example, if I go to H1, or if I right click on H1 and modify the style, so let's say for example I want to make this a particular size, the font, so 15 pixels. It could be points as well, but let's leave it as pixels. Maybe you want to make it bold, I want to make it italic, okay, and the color, let's say I want to make it red. So we can also use this window here. It's up to you what you want to use. So I'm just going to press Ctrl Z, and let's go back to the question paper. So styles H1, H2 and H3 will display the font Zaf Chassonnerie. If this is not available, then it's going to show the Blackadder ITC font. If these two fonts are not available, then it's going to display the default serif font. So what I'm going to do it like this, using the window instead. So if I right click, and modify H1. Okay, so the first style which we need to include is going to be this one here, so I'm going to copy and paste. So if this style is not available, I'm going to type in comma, then it's going to use the next style, which will be Blackadder ITC, comma. If these two font styles are not available, then it's going to go to the default serif font. So I just simply have to type in serif, and then I can click on apply. Okay, and you can see it's included the two fonts, okay, into the font family. If they're not available, then it's going to show serif. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Because H1, H2 and H3 will have the same style or the same font, what we can do, rather than repeating ourselves and doing this again for H2 and H3, we can just put simply comma after H1 and type in H2, comma, and then type in H3. So heading 1, heading 2 and heading 3 will have the same font family. Okay, so that's the first part done. I can highlight. Okay, styles H1, H2 and 3 will also be center aligned. So again, what we can do, we can modify H1, H2 and H3 to all be center aligned. So we can modify the style. To align text, you need to go to block, and for text align we need to select center, and then we can click on apply and OK, and you can see the style is automatically being added. So the text will be center aligned for H1, H2 and H3. Okay, style H1 must be red with no green or blue elements. So because this is a separate component for H1, we need to separate this. So what we do, again, there's two ways of doing this. We can either, I'm going to show you, so if you click on new style, you can either click here or you can click on format new style, it's the same thing, and we want to type in H1. So H1 is basically must be red with no green or no blue elements. So remember RGB, red, green and blue. So if you select red here, colors will always start with a hashtag. We've got FF for full red and RGB, so no green or no blue components. So that's one way of doing it. So you select, or you write H1 at the top and you type in the properties. So it could be font family, font size. So if I click on apply, and the code has automatically been done for you. Or if you're feeling confident, you can do it like this. So you can type in H1, open up the curly brackets, type in color. Remember, it's American spelling. Type in your semicolon or your colon, and then you can type in, let's just select black for now. Actually, type in your hashtag. So I always get confused. Oh, here's my hashtag. So for red, you got full red, no green and no blue, and then you can put the semicolon in. So it's the same thing. I prefer just use the CSS window, to be honest. It's just much easier. So new style, H1, the color is going to be red. Okay, it's all done for you. You don't need to remember the codes. Apply, job done. Okay. Right, so let's look at the next style. So H2 must be blue with no green or red elements, and style H3 must also be blue with no green or red elements. So we're going to join them together, but initially what I'll do is I'll just type in H2, okay, and it's going to be, must be blue with no green or red elements. So if I come to here, so no green or no red. So as you can see, 0 represents no the red, so we have no red, we have no green, it's just pure blue, so FF for that. So if we click on apply, and because H3 is also the same, must be blue with no green or red elements, what we can do to save ourselves some time, we can just type in comma H3. Okay, now makes our life so much easier rather than doing it separately, and this is the most efficient way of doing this. Right, so that's that part done. Now we're going to be focused on the table. So for table, you normally have two tags. For the external border, you'd have table, and then for the internal grid lines, you'd have TD. So all borders and grid lines must be red. Okay, so basically the outside external border will be red, as well as the internal border will be red. So again, you can do it like this. I'm going to show you something. So if I type in table, yeah, I want table, and if you go to border, basically what they're saying is all borders and grid lines must be red. So if I type in go to color and select red, okay, you can see top, right, bottom and left. Okay, because we want a border to show, you want to select a solid. Where's solid? So that's the example, and if I press apply, okay, here we got the style. So border color will be red, okay, and the border style will be solid. But because we want to apply it to both the internal border as well as the outside border, we can include TD as well. But where it gets tricky now is we need to refer to the requirements of question 1. So basically what we've done so far is all borders and grid lines will be red with no green or blue elements. Okay, obviously the border will be solid. If you don't have a solid border, the border will not show. So the next thing we need to do is go to question 1. Okay, so the external border will be 4 pixels wide. So we have separate properties now for the external border. So the external border will be 4 pixels wide, and the internal grid lines will be 2 pixels wide. So we basically need to separate these two values. So again, I'm going to just click on new style. This time type in table, border, and table refers to the external border, and the size of the external border will be 4 pixels. So if I type that in and press OK, you can see the border size is 4 pixels. And to save myself a little bit of time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this. The internal grid lines will not be 4 pixels, they will be 2 pixels. Okay, so we can type in 2 pixels there instead. So here, the reason we've joined table and TD together is because both internal and external colors of the border will be the same, and obviously the border style will be solid. If I press save and then go to my BB HTML, and then let's preview this in the browser. So let's go to Chrome. So first of all, you can see the external border is slightly thicker than the internal border. The text styles have been changed, so this text here is blue. The text is still center aligned for all of the texts. Okay, so far so good. So let's go to the question paper. So yep, I'm happy that all borders and grid lines must be red. Okay, matching the requirements stated in question 1. So the external border was 4 pixels, and then the internal grid lines was 2 pixels. Table borders and grid lines must be visible. Now, in previous exam papers, it has asked you to collapse. Let me go back to, collapse the table. So these internal grid lines combine into one line, but it's not asking us to collapse the table borders today, so we can leave that step. Okay, so let's go down. Okay, so evidence 1, display the page in your browser. If necessary, resize so all of the page can be seen, all text can be easily read, the address bar is visible, and take a single screenshot of the browser window and place this into your evidence document. So let me zoom out slightly. So okay, that's what we want to show. Let me print screen. Obviously you can use the snipping tool, it's up to you what you want to use. Let me paste this in. So I've just used a shortcut key, Control V to paste. And then what we can do, we can crop the part off which we don't really need. I just want to crop this off. Okay, so we're still in the, we can see the address bar and we can see all of the text here. Right, so that's your first evidence completed. Okay, the second evidence, and this is the most important evidence, is to take a copy of the HTML source and place this into your evidence document. So what this means is we have to literally copy and paste all the text from the HTML and place this into the evidence document. What some people have done in the past is they've just copy and pasted this web address into the evidence document, and that's the biggest mistake you can make at this point. If you go to your HTML, so if you go to BB HTML and if you go to code, in this code you'll get lots of different marks for setting the table properties and hyperlinks and everything that you've done basically. So let me highlight this code and copy. So for evidence 2, we need to paste in this code here. So this is where a lot of your marks are going to come from. So evidence or this HTML will show that you've got hyperlinks, you resize pictures, you've got alternative text, for example. So it's really important you either copy and paste the evidence document. In some papers they ask you to print the HTML. So one way or the other you need to have your HTML printed or in your evidence document. Take a copy of your style sheet and place this into your evidence document. So what we need to do now for evidence 3 is, if you go to here, let's copy and paste this. Okay, copy, place this for evidence 3. So evidence 3, let's just move it down. Let's move it to the next page actually. Paste that in. So again, there's lots of marks in the style sheet. It doesn't really matter about the spacing as long as you get it in. Okay, and then for evidence 4, let's see what it's asking us to do. Well, before we look at evidence 4, there was basically a total of 8 marks in all of these print screens. Okay, for question 13, evaluate in your own words the choice of fonts used for this web page. So if I look here, you've got to ask yourself the question, is it easy to read the font styles? Do the colors stand out? Okay, so type your evaluation into your own words into the evidence document using no more than 100 words. Okay, so to save myself some time, I've copy and pasted the answers from the mark scheme. So again, let me just have a look at the web page. So look at the logo, and at least we can say the text font styles are similar to the text used in the logo, so that's at least as positive. We're using the same color as well as the logo text. So this is what we've got for my evidence 4. Fonts are script fonts, so more difficult to read. Poor contrast between the text and the background, that's what we said before. Fonts match the style in the company logo. Font color matches that in the logo for style H1. So as we can see, these styles are matching here, so that's a plus, but the negative is it's quite difficult to read. Okay, so we've come to the end of this video. Thank you for your time. Please share and like this video, and please show you support this channel, and please subscribe below. Thanks again for your time.